Something deep within you kept whispering that someone was concealing the truth. Your intuition caught the warning signs, even without solid evidence. God doesn't let his chosen ones remain in endless uncertainty. He grants you that inner knowing for a reason. And yes, that uneasy feeling you had was absolutely right. Someone is on the verge of breaking under the weight of their own deception, feeling the urge to confess a truth they desperately wanted to keep from you. Fear grips them, and for good reason. They can feel the divine push to come clean. Stay here for at least 12 minutes because by the time you finish this message, you'll understand exactly how to protect your emotional well-being when the truth comes to light. Right now, tap like, subscribe, and comment 77 below to signal to the universe that you're open to receiving clarity. Then drop a second comment, ready for what's next, in your own authentic way. Taking this step activates spiritual laws that bring immediate relief and usher in a new season of transformation in your life. Chapter 1. You felt their hidden motives long before they spoke. You couldn't explain the unease in your stomach or why conversations with this person left your heart racing. All you knew was something felt off, like walking into a room that smells fine to everyone else but reeks of smoke to you. They tried to maintain eye contact, feign innocence, or shift blame, yet your spirit refused to buy their polished act. As a chosen one, you've grown sensitive to these subtle vibrations, an internal alert system God placed in you to avoid traps. Maybe you struggled with doubt. Am I just imagining this? Why am I so suspicious? You wanted to believe them, especially when they claimed you misunderstood. Yet deep down, your alarm bells wouldn't quiet. Sometimes you'd question if you'd become paranoid from past hurts, but each time, the feeling intensified, like a shadow that clung tighter the more you tried to shake it off. That's the Holy Spirit whispering that your environment is not as it seems, urging you to stay vigilant. But what were they hiding? And why? Fear is a potent motivator. This person might have taken actions they regret, betraying a promise, gossiping behind your back, or mishandling something precious you entrusted to them. They tried bearing their guilt, telling themselves it would never surface or that you'd never piece it together. However, your spirit recognized the shift in their energy, the sudden hesitations, the forced laughter. It picked up on the intangible weight of unspoken secrets. You might have tested the waters, dropping small hints or direct questions. In each conversation, you met carefully curated responses or abrupt subject changes. The contrast between their polished words and your internal radar only grew more glaring. Meanwhile, your emotional wounds, perhaps from earlier betrayals, made you more cautious, yet more determined to uncover the root of this deceit. This time, you promised yourself you wouldn't let confusion fester indefinitely. Looking back, each subtle sign was a puzzle piece. The unexplained mood swings, the contradictory statements, the random excuses for lateness or change plans. Though it felt disjointed at first, your chosen one intuition lined them up until a coherent picture emerged. Now you stand with near certainty, waiting for them to either confirm or deny your suspicions. And you sense they're on the verge of cracking, haunted by the knowledge that you see more than they let on. This silent tug of war tested you emotionally. You wrestled with wanting to trust, but feeling an urgent need to protect your space. Yet through it all, you've matured in discernment, learning to differentiate between fleeting paranoia and a genuine spiritual warning. So when you finally lock eyes with them, you'll do so from a place of unwavering composure. Their fear at having to confess is well-founded. You hold a vantage point that only chosen ones possess. Your spirit is done ignoring signs and they sense it. The stage is set for the truth to finally surface, just as your intuition foretold all along. Chapter 2. You're witnessing a divine prompt urging them to speak. You notice them flinch whenever certain topics arise, or their voice cracks at the mention of specific names. These are not mere coincidences, but clear symptoms of an invisible force pressing down on them. God is no bystander in this scenario. He sees the weight of their hidden guilt and has decided the time is right for exposure. The gravitational pull they feel isn't random anxiety. It's the divine commandment compelling them to face their wrongdoing or deception. In biblical stories, Hearts hardened by pride often buckled under spiritual pressure until they surrendered and confessed. Think of how King David crumbled under Nathan's rebuke after concealing his transgressions, or how Judas's remorse tormented him post-betrayal. This is the season your person is stepping into, the stage where secrets no longer yield relief but ignite constant dread. They sense that continuing the lie is more painful than exposing it because the spiritual realm pushes relentlessly for truth. You on the receiving end may feel a simmer of anger or exasperation. Why did they force you to endure confusion and second-guessing for so long? But if you pause to see the spiritual panorama, you recognize that this moment isn't just about personal vindication. It's also about cosmic order. Illusions must be dismantled for real healing to occur. The confession they're about to make is orchestrated not to humiliate them, but to set the record straight in a way that fosters clarity and possibly redemption. At the same time, you might detect a sense of trembling in them, fidgety hands, restless eyes, stammering speech. They're caught between wanting to stay silent and feeling a strong, almost supernatural push to confess. Fear of your reaction collides with an internal compulsion to unburden themselves. Day by day, that tension grows. They can barely maintain their usual facade, and this meltdown is inevitable. It's as if the words are fighting to escape their throat, needing only the slightest prompt to come pouring out. Your role is crucial here. If you confront them head-on with anger, they may clamp down harder in self-preservation. But if you hold your ground in calm assurance, knowing your worth backed by God's truth, they'll recognize there's no more wiggle room. This doesn't mean you coddle them or pretend you're not hurt. It means you anchor yourself in divine peace, letting them see that you're prepared to handle the truth, even if it stings. The more serenity you project, the more they realize the futility of further deception. Simultaneously, your own spirit may feel tested. The revelation they're about to share could confirm your worst suspicions or unveil new layers of betrayal. Yet God wouldn't allow such a moment if He hadn't equipped you with the emotional fortitude to face it. Surrender your anxiety in prayer. Lean on the unshakable knowledge that the same God who reveals also heals. Their confession is less about your destruction and more about untying a knot that's restricted both your spiritual flows. So when the moment comes and their words spill out, stumbling, messy, fearful, understand you're witnessing a divine plan in action. A plan that ensures no hidden infection remains to corrode your future blessings. Chapter 3. You must study your emotions before the confession arrives. Even as you yearn to hear the truth, you realize it could cut deep. So now is the time for emotional grounding. You want to face their confession from a place of clarity rather than reactive fury. If you allow anger or resentment to govern you, the confession becomes more about drama than resolution. But a chosen one understands the power of emotional equilibrium. A calm mind repels manipulation and draws out genuine disclosure. Practically speaking, consider a short fast, meditation, or dedicated prayer sessions to align your emotions. Cut down on needless chatter with those who feed negativity. This is your window to fortify your spirit. Each time anxiety threatens to spike, those racing thoughts of, what if the truth is worse than I feared? Breathe, pray, and let God's peace flood you. The calmer you are, the more effective you'll be in extracting the unvarnished truth and deciding your next steps. This emotional steadying also helps you sort out which outcomes you truly want. Are you seeking an apology, an explanation, or maybe even closure to walk away forever? Clarity in your own goals will shape how you respond. If you're unsure, that indecision can sabotage the conversation. You might get the confession but lose your power simply because you didn't define how you wanted to handle the revelation. So imagine the scenario, the setting, their voice trembling, the words they might use. Visualize staying poised, asking succinct follow-up questions, and concluding in a way that serves your highest good. However, remain flexible. No matter how carefully you script your reaction, real life has its own unpredictability. They may drip-feed the truth or unload it all in a tearful avalanche. Your calm preparedness is precisely what's needed to keep the exchange from devolving into chaos. They might try to minimize their actions or coax you into pity. A stable mind allows you to filter out manipulative pleas focusing on the raw facts. Keep it anchored in your internal sense of justice, not in the tides of emotion. Understand, too, that your emotional readiness ensures the confession doesn't crack your spirit. The pain might be fresh, but it's better to face a sharp truth than languish in a swirl of confusion. By bracing your emotions, you can pivot from victim to victor in a single conversation. Yes, it may ache to have your suspicions validated, but it also releases you from the oppressive tension of not knowing. Paradoxically, the clarity you gain, however painful, can serve as a springboard to a freer, more purposeful future. Finally, never underestimate the spiritual angle. The confession itself might be just the tip of an iceberg. This person could be compelled by forces beyond your immediate understanding to reveal not just one lie, but a series of them. Your composure is essential for receiving these bombs without internalizing them as personal failures. Don't let shame or regret overshadow your perspective. You are not to blame for their deceit. Instead, hold your head high, trusting that your readiness ensures you handle this truth with dignity. This leveling of the emotional field is your silent assurance that, no matter the revelations, your spirit stands unshaken and fully prepared to act according to God's guidance. Chapter 4. You're about to discover the full extent of their secret. The whispered half-truths you picked up were only fragments, you suspect, and more black evidence. Well, brace yourself. You're on the threshold of learning the full scope of what they concealed. Whether it's a hidden affair, financial manipulation, or a betrayal of confidence, it's likely more complicated than you initially thought. This revelation will surface details that fill the gaps in your puzzle. Your intuition might recoil at how brazen or cunning they were. But ironically, the confession might come laced with a twisted sense of relief. For them, for you, for everyone impacted. It's critical to remember that chosen ones are rarely blindsided. Your spirit usually picks up subtle vibrations beforehand. You might recall fleeting dreams or a random gut pang when certain topics arose. Now those puzzle pieces align in real time, forming a vivid picture that explains their odd behavior, abrupt mood swings, or your own inexplicable sense of weariness. The final puzzle piece is about to click in, unveiling a narrative they carefully curated to keep you guessing. At this stage, you could feel surges of shock or anger. The magnitude of the lie might surpass your worst-case scenarios. You might discover others were complicit, or that documents were forged, messages deleted, or entire timelines fabricated to keep you off track. Yet try not to let fury hijack your mind. The bigger the secret, the more cunning the cover-up. Understanding this can help you maintain some measure of detachment while you hear them out. It doesn't excuse their actions, but it does keep you from spiraling in disbelief. You also have to prepare for the emotional manipulation that might accompany the confession. People who are cornered by their own guilt often cry, over-apologize, or shift to victim mode. They might blame external pressures or old traumas to earn your sympathy. Your compassion, while commendable, mustn't overshadow accountability. There's a fine line between empathizing with someone's struggles and letting them absolve themselves of responsibility. Stay alert to any signs they're aiming to deflect blame or rewrite the narrative to mask their culpability. Another factor is how they might overcompensate by promising changes or offering restitution. It might sound tempting to accept their immediate contrition, but wait to see if their change is genuine or merely a tactic to smooth things over. If you're dealing with a repeated cycle of lies, you must weigh the difference between genuine remorse and manipulative penance. Choosing to forgive doesn't require you to be naive about repeated patterns. As the final layers peel back, you may experience a bittersweet moment of validation. All the confusion, self-doubt, and nights spent replaying their words will crystallize into the confirmation that your intuition was right. You'll stand at a crossroads. Either you find space for healing and reestablishing trust, or you decide it's best to cut ties. Either way, you'll do it from an informed position, not from the manipulative haze they cast over you before. Whatever decision you make next, you'll make it with clarity and confidence, liberated from half-truths and illusions. Still, the hidden lesson here is that your spiritual senses don't lie. God gave you that internal radar for moments exactly like this. Every tear, every pang of suspicion, every mental war you waged none of it was in vain. You were divinely guided to sense danger. And now, with the entire truth laid bare, you can move forward without regret, acknowledging that your soul recognized the threat long before your mind had proof. Chapter 5. You're empowered to determine the consequences of their confession. The truth finally emerges, and with it comes your power to decide how this relationship evolves. Will you enforce a season of genuine atonement or permanently close the chapter? Perhaps you see potential for redemption under strict boundaries, or maybe the trust breach is too great and you must walk away. Whatever you choose, you have the right to enforce it. For a while you may. Have you felt like a victim, doubting yourself because their behavior clashed with your instincts? Now the confession shifts the dynamic. You hold the moral high ground while they face the weight of potential rejection or exposure. You move from confusion to clarity, from reacting to initiating. The burden transfers to them, forcing accountability for their deceit. This newfound authority might feel strange, especially if you're used to being a peacemaker or caretaker. You may fear appearing unmerciful if you impose strict terms or endings, but sometimes acting in truth requires showing grace, and other times it demands departure for your own growth. Don't let anyone use spiritual or moral arguments to guilt you into staying in a harmful environment. Mercy has its place, but so does self-protection. Avoid letting revenge consume you. If you choose forgiveness and want to continue any form of relationship, romantic, platonic, or professional, require proof of sincerity. Insist on tangible changes, counseling, mentorship, or a probationary period. If they bail, you have your answer. Their remorse is hollow. You need consistent action, not emotional pleas. Your aim isn't to humiliate them, but to stay grounded in your worth. If they meet your conditions with humility and genuine effort, perhaps a constructive path awaits. If not, anger, manipulation, or more lies, at least you're no longer in the dark. You see reality clearly, like turning on a light in a previously dim room. From this vantage point, you can create precise boundary lines. Some may judge your approach, ruthless if you sever ties, too lenient if you stay. Their opinions don't matter. Your guide is the path God set for you and the peace in your spirit. This moment of truth places you in the captain's seat of your destiny, confirming that your intuition was never wrong. It was always leading you to this moment of rightful authority. Chapter 6. You must protect your future from repeated deceptions. Now that everything is in the open, your next challenge is preventing a repeat of this cycle of lies. Closure means little if there's no follow-through to match the tears and confessions. Your calling is too vital to endure the sabotage. Guide your path with firm measures. First, decide how much personal access you'll allow. If the offender stays in your life, limit what you share. They once exploited your vulnerabilities. Don't hand them new ammunition. Keep conversations purposeful, and if old patterns resurface, reevaluate whether they deserve any future role. Second, hold them accountable. If they claim they've changed, insist on concrete proof. Maybe it's transparent communication they once withheld or respectful cooperation with your boundaries. The instant they regress into secrecy or manipulation, you know their confession was just an act. You don't have time for illusions. God's plan won't wait for people who keep betraying you. Third, trust your spiritual intuition. You've learned the price of ignoring that inner voice. When you sense something off, investigate, whether through prayer, conversation with a trusted mentor, or your own discernment. Don't live in perpetual uncertainty. It drains your spirit and focus. Fourth, refine your environment. If you share mutual friends, some may urge you to forgive and move on, overlooking the pattern of deceit. Listen for wise counsel, not dismissive platitudes. Real allies respect your healing and won't rush you to gloss over rotten foundations with fresh paint. Above all, remember your broader calling. Deceptions are like anchors dragging you from your destiny. Each day spent wrestling with betrayal is a day not devoted to the divine work ahead of you. Let that reality guide your decisions. If dealing with this trauma overtakes your energy, consider a clean break. If genuine progress allows you to stay productive, proceed carefully. Protecting your future isn't about bitterness or cynicism. It's about wisdom. You're fortifying the path God gave you, refusing to remain in toxic cycles. This stance frees you to invest your gifts where they matter most, in people and pursuits that honor your worth. Chapter 7. You are free to move forward in confidence and peace. With the confession finally out in the open, the fog that once clouded your mind has lifted. No longer do you question whether your intuition was misleading. The truth has confirmed what you suspected. Though it may still sting, it's liberating. Guesswork, dread, and half-truths have been shattered. Now you can channel your energy into your higher calling, rather than replaying suspicious moments in your head. People around you might notice your renewed brightness. Those who truly care will celebrate the calm and assurance you radiate, while others may stand by, puzzled at your sudden peace. You owe no explanations. Your priority is your destiny, not maintaining illusions for anyone else's comfort. You're free to walk away or attempt rebuilding. Either choice flows from clarity rather than coercion or confusion. This newfound freedom also opens space for new blessings. Painful lessons teach you how to steward relationships and opportunities with more wisdom. If you allow the person who hurt you to remain in your life, you do so on your terms, with sharper boundaries and a guarded yet forgiving heart. If you choose to part ways, you do so with integrity intact. Either way, you're in alignment with truth, which attracts deeper levels of divine favor and support. Even if the truth was ugly, it beats the torment of half-knowledge. With illusions gone, your spiritual senses sharpen, and you're more attuned to God's guidance in other areas. At night, prayer and reflection flow effortlessly because you're not doubting your reality. By day, your productivity rises as emotional clutter dissipates. What once felt like a dreaded confrontation now serves as a springboard for a more authentic existence. When self-doubt creeps in, making you question whether the confession was incomplete or if you reacted too strongly, silence that doubt with gratitude. You honored yourself by facing the unknown, and your intuition was right. This moment solidifies your trust in yourself and reassures you that God continues to guide you through the quiet wisdom of your spirit. Move forward with confidence. You've stripped away illusions and now stand firmly in a truth no one can shake. Let your final outcome shine. No one will ever leave you in the dark about matters that shape your destiny again. Your sharpened awareness, deep connection with the divine, and strong self-respect shield you from future deception. Step into your future, clear, radiant, and fully prepared to embrace the version of yourself that refuses to accept anything less than the truth and victory that were always yours to claim.